We are live now, ma'am.
Is it live?
Yes, yes, ma'am. It's live. Yes, we
Hi,
can go ahead.
everyone. A very good evening and a warm welcome to all the CLS members, people who are watching us, our viewers, our beautiful speakers, and everybody who's just joining us. A very, very warm evening and namaskar to all of you. Today, I have two mysterious authors. I am Neha Gupta and I'm going to be interacting with two mysterious authors right from Dehradun to
The
Ludhiana.
lights gone.
Now, why do I call them mysterious? I call them mysterious because they have mystery and thrill attached to their writing skills. So let me just get started and introduce you to the beautiful ladies. Dr. Ruby Gupta from Dehradun and Nomita Khanna from Ludhiana. Hi Ruby, hi Nomita, how are you two both?
Hi Neha.
Hi
Hi
Neha, it's
Namita.
wonderful to be here. It's really wonderful to be here today. A warm hello to all of you and a big thank you to Viveka Trey, CLS, Neha, and everyone. And like all of you, I've been also hiding in the house because of the COVID, and it's lovely to see bright, learned faces right now.
Thank you,
Hi.
Nomita. Pleasure.
Okay.
Dr. Ruby.
Hi Neha. Hi Nomita. It's so wonderful to be here, and I would like to thank Chandigarh Literary Society and Vivek Atre for inviting me. And so wonderful to see the audience. And I hope to have a great time and a great conversation. Let's begin.
I am looking forward, ma'am. This CLS conversation has been so exciting. It has actually, brought out a lot of thrill in us during this lockdown and unlockdown period. So yeah. So ma'am, Dr. Ruby, tell me something. How has lockdown and unlockdown treated you? Have you done anything specifically apart from writing?
Well, lockdown personally for me, it has treated me very nicely because I have got closer to my family. And my daughter came home during the lockdown. I mean, she managed to get away and she stays in Pune. And would you believe it? It is after 10 years that she's at home for such a long stretch.
How
So,
nice. How nice.
so it's been good for me. And work-wise, a lot of new experiences. Teaching through video conferencing has been a new experience for me, challenging and exciting both at the same time. So yeah, lockdown has been nice, and I've got a lot of time to introspect and think about things, those kind of things.
Oh, very nice. Lovely. I think we've all connected back with our families, with our inner self during this lockdown period. How about you, Nomita?
Yeah, Dr. Ruby has expressed herself very well. The thing is, this COVID, it's been a mixed bag. Sometimes your nerves are totally frayed, and at times you're not thinking about that, and this total family bonding. So it's a mixed bag. Like initially, it was bonding, and I was on top of cloud nine. We were playing dam charades, antakshari, pantomimes, and everything. But after a few days, I just wanted to lock the room and see no one at all, not even my husband, my children, no one. I locked the door because how much can you see of it? That happened. So it's overall been a mixed bag. And then, of course, one worries about the health. But about that, I read somewhere, what is this quote? Yeah, worrying does not empty today of its troubles, but it empties today of its strength. It doesn't solve tomorrow's troubles, but it empties today of its strength. So taking a
Well,
cue from that, I'm taking it in my stride.
oh, very nice, very nice. And I saw some nice recipes on your Instagram post as well. You've been doing a
Ah,
lot of cooking, I
yes,
think.
you got it. You got it. You know, this COVID, what has it done? सबके अंदर का भूत जगा दिया, cooking वाला भूत. So similarly, my cooking booth came out, and let me say, मेरा भूत नहीं है. It's a big, wild beast, almost like a jinn out of a bottle. I
How
didn't know
nice.
myself. I had this great passion for cooking. This COVID hit me hard, and the cooking bug bit me even harder.
How nice is that? And you made some very interesting chia seed dessert in your. There's a picture of it on your Instagram post. I take it from you after the session. I better not involve cooking right now.
Definitely, definitely.
I'll do that.
And
So
I'll ask you for a favor too to put in a review.
I will surely do that. So, Dr. Ruby, now we all know you've written 8 best-selling books, right? You are a professor at you are as a head of a department also in English at the Indian Institute of Military Academy in Dehradun. And so, how's your journey been writing 8 books from academics as well? Then I see a lot of dilated career. You know, you took up science, then you dabbled into writing and journalism, and then suddenly 8 books that have come up. So, what's your journey been so far?
So I think if I have to say it in one word, I would say that I get, or in one sentence, I would say I get bored easily. So I wanted to make, so,
I can
so,
relate to that.
so I wanted to keep my life interesting. I mean, I didn't want to be this
Mm,
boring, stodgy old professor who is teaching the same thing for 30 years. I
Right.
used to see some
mm,
professors, who are teaching the same thing for 30 years. And I thought, my God, once I got into writing, that brought out the spark in me. Because when I was in teaching,
mm,
and when I just started teaching, I thought, my God, am I going to become like one of these professors? And so I wanted to keep it interesting, and so therefore I took a convoluted path. And yes, you're right from the time of my academics, like I was a science student, I loved zoology, that was my passion, and I wanted to go in for genetic engineering. Didn't do that. Then I got into did my MSc in zoology, then dropped out, and then went on to do my creative writing from IGNO, and then went on to journalism. I was a freelance journalist for about 5 years, and then
Okay.
I thought, no, I need to have some structure in my life. So academics is the field where you get structure. So then I got into academics, and I got into literature. And then then came the thing that, how do I keep doing the same thing? So why not write? And then in writing also, I wanted to bring in adventure. So initially I started off with non-fiction, and I found that in non-fiction, what you do is you take existing material or data, and you give your own spiel to it, and you look at it from your own angle. But I thought, why not start from something where there is nothing, and that is fiction.
Right.
In fiction, nothing
mm.
exists. So you have to create an imaginary world from scratch. So I thought that would be most challenging. And so, I mean, just to keep myself entertained
Oh, how
in life.
nice.
And
So
the
Well,
I'm
world too.
entertaining, yeah, and the world too. So that's a byproduct. So I'm kind of entertaining myself by
that's
walking this convoluted path.
fine. Women can do
Excellent.
multiple tasks, multiple activities, multiple imagination. I think that's what your
Yeah,
career has taken you into. So,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
to you, Nomita, when did you start writing? I see a 16 years
Okay.
fluency, you've written now. When did you start?
Yeah,
When did it urge that
yeah,
you?
just like Dr. Ruby said, even I had this urge right from the beginning, probably when I was born, because my mom said the moment I was born, I was looking at the left wall, the right wall, the ceiling, and the doctor said, "Is she just born?" So when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I wrote a story in school titled "The Clock Tower." So a regular sort of title, but the story was like a tea party in the attic of what we know as Ghantaghar in Ludhiana, in the attic of that with the then Prime Minister. So the story veered towards the weird. That's how I am, the Alice in Wonderland kind of stories. So I wrote that story and it got published in the school magazine. So that was when I was
Wow.
5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. Every year my story would get published. Then I became the school magazine's editor. Later
Right,
on, when I got married, so I again wanted, like Dr. Ruby, I wanted something which would make me jump out of bed, put a spring in my feet. I wanted,
right,
I wanted to jump out of bed, not just get up and have my cup of coffee and a toast. I wanted that spring in my feet. So something exciting would do that. So one day I was in a doctor's waiting room and this line caught my eye. Send a mystery to Femina and you'll win a Mont Blanc pen. I went home, stayed up the whole night, wrote a mystery. Next
right.
day, grabbed my beta reader by the neck and told him not to go to the office, my husband, Mr. Gagan. And I said, okay, can you tell me how good it is? He read it, and I was my heart beating wildly, waiting for his response. And at the end of it he said, "ठीक है." So I was ecstatic. I was jumping up and down. You would say, why would you do that? because every person has that signature trademark kind of thing.
Right.
Like if your mom used to say, Bhutni baal bandh le, that didn't mean you're a Bhutni. She just meant make tie your hair into a nice braid. So if my husband says, Theek hai, I understand him. I knew him. I meant it was brilliant. He meant it was brilliant. So I
Right.
shot it off in an email to Femina. It got published. One year moved on. The next one asked for another story, another kind of, and I want a Cartier pen for an unwanted man. And then there was one in which they wanted magic and animals, animal spirits, one me Swarovski earrings, and so on and so forth. Eventually, about 100 articles found their way into India Today, Femina, and all that. And the pile grew really high, tall, very high, and it would topple every now and then. So one day I just tore the pages and bound them up in a spiral file and kept it it's in a drawer. Hey, wait, I'll go and grab it. This can't happen in a
No, no, it
meeting
can
webinar.
happen. It
It
can
can.
happen.
Okay, I'll show you. Okay,
I'll
I'll be back.
So, Dr. Rupi, how's the weather in Dehradun?
Oh, Dehradun is always beautiful weather. I mean, that is one of the reasons I love Dehradun. Absolutely. It's so beautiful over here. The mountains, the clouds, the air, the trees, everything is beautiful.
Right. So, you, Nomita.
So here is the file with hundreds of articles. So I compiled them all in here. Let me see how it can. I don't know how you make these things work desirable. Zoom and teleconferences and webinars. I don't know how you make them. I can't even do FaceTime. But today, I guess it's the first time, never say never. So after that, it seemed natural that I would gravitate towards writing a novel. So in that,
Right.
I chose to write for children because I was interacting with my children and going, that sort of a thing. Wanted to entertain children a lot. So, a dinosaur is the protagonist in my novel, Lucky Costosaurus and the Golden Vultures, because since decades, the whole world is fascinated by these gorgeous creatures. And I thought, what better way to divert the attention of kids in this age of smartphones than to use these gorgeous beasts? Okay, and this story in this history and mythology is woven around an adventurous plot. And besides, there's also an exciting treasure hunt to it and related to real history and mythology. So one
Right.
day this did become a bestseller in legends, myths, and sagas. So that was interesting. And after that, somehow I knew the tug of the thriller genre was really huge on me. So I naturally went to write on a thriller. So that's my journey in short.
I know because your books have also been ranked as bestsellers at Amazon in various categories as well. And you've won various awards as well. So, yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations. Definitely.
thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
We'll hear more about your book, the thriller one, in detail shortly. So, coming to Dr.
Okay.
Ruby, Ruby, you have 8 books. Which are the ones you want to talk about today? I have one that I will
Uh,
discuss. I'll ask questions about that.
before I go on to that, I mean, it's so wonderful to hear Nomita tell about her journey,
Yeah,
and really exciting. And I would
absolutely.
love to read that book on dinosaur with the dinosaur as the protagonist. I mean, it sounds very interesting. And
Thank you so much.
another similarity I find between Nomita and myself is that even one of my poems was published in Femina. And at that time, the
Ah.
poetry editor was Kamla Das, and she had selected my poem. So at that time, I realized that okay, I can write poetry too. So, so that is a that is a
Oh.
similarity between Nomita and myself.
Only when we
When
do
Oh.
it, we get to know that, we can do this.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So of my 8 books, actually, all 8 books are my children. So I cannot say, which one is better because I've written them all. But I think if we look at it from the perspective of the readers or the audience that we have on right now, I think they would be interested in fiction more than non-fiction, because non-fiction is a bit serious. And I personally also am not a very serious kind of person, even though I have written serious books. So I think let us talk about non-serious books, and that is fiction, and that is primarily my novels, which are mysteries essentially, because I like to write mysteries. So my first mystery novel was Maya. And then my next mystery novel, which is a murder mystery, was A Degree in Death. And the latest one, which was published by Bloomsbury and was launched last year, is No Illusions in Xanadu. So I think the audience would prefer that I should talk about these interesting mysteries rather than boring, my other books are on technical communication and Khushwant
Mm.
Singh and poetry. So I think that would not be so interesting.
No Illusions in Xanadu is a very exciting title.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed this trend that in non-fiction, the only books that are picked up are generally self-help ones.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's true.
So tell us more in detail about No Illusions in Xanadu. It's more based on that Mumbai, Bollywood, you know, the film
Yeah.
industry. Recently, the
Yeah.
Bollywood has been
Yeah.
pretty much in limelight. And I think a
Yeah.
little bit of your novel revolves around the same thing. I won't say nepotism and all, but somewhere something is hitting in your book there. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about this?
Well, actually, before No Illusions in Xanadu, the two books I wrote, although they were mysteries, they were a little heavy and more intellectual. So I wanted to write a masala kind of a
Right.
novel,
Oh,
a Mumbai
okay.
film masala kind of a
What
novel that
better
is.
than Mumbai Masala? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we
yes.
do hope it's
So
made into a movie.
I hope so too. I mean, what do we say in Hindi? तुम्हारे मुंह में घी शक्कर नौमिता.
Definitely,
So,
girls empowering other girls.
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes, women power.
You know.
Yeah.
So this novel is based on the Mumbai film industry, wherein we have the reigning superstar of the Mumbai film industry, that is Rajveer Kapoor. He is found murdered in his own study room, and the room is in his 30-story high home, which he has built in the center of Mumbai, which is like a tourist attraction. And then the murder investigation starts, and all the Mumbai glamour and the sleaze and the all kinds of extramarital relationships and jealousy and all these things play a part in this particular novel. And nepotism, you brought the fact in, but I would like to
Mm.
talk about the fact that we should not blame the Mumbai film industry for nepotism, or some call it nepotism. It is actually an innate human nature to belong to a group, right? Man is a social being, and if you look at evolution, how evolution happened, the survival of human beings depended upon them being a part of a larger group. And everyone in the group looked out for each other. And that's how societies evolved and nations evolved, right? So if we look at everywhere, whether it is in school, whether it is in college, whether it is any workplace, there are these cliques. Cliques are there, groups are there, and members of the group look out for each other, right? And they do not want an outsider to come in and take some of their position or
Hmm.
power away. And you can become a member of that particular group only if you conform to the requirements of that particular group. So you have to, in a sense, compromise to some extent in order to belong to that group. And if you don't compromise, then you are left out, you're an outsider, and you become a lone wolf. And we know many lone wolves also in the Mumbai film industry, right? So it let's not blame the Mumbai film industry for nepotism. The fact is that groups are there in any organization, any industry, everywhere there are groups. And the group dynamics works. So either you are a part of the group and conform, or you are out of the group. So that aspect is there in my novel also, because we find that Rajveer Kapoor, the protagonist, the person who's murdered, is naturally, he's this reigning superstar. So the entire film industry is into his group. And anybody who wants to become a great superstar, or a rising star, has to have the blessings of Rajveer Kapoor. Otherwise, he cannot rise high. So much so that in the plot, Rajveer Kapoor's daughter wants to become an actress, and Rajveer Kapoor does not want her to become an actress. And she is, she has inherited the genes of Rajveer Kapoor, and she is a very good actress. But Rajveer Kapoor sends out word that no producer is going to sign her, with the result that even though she is a great actress, nobody signs her. And she cannot become an actress just because her father has so much of clout. So here you go, nepotism working in the opposite way. And then, she has hatred for her father. So she is one of the suspects who could have murdered Rajveer Kapoor. So I'm letting out a bit of the plot, but couldn't resist. So there you go.
You
Oh,
very creatively picked up the character's name, relating
yeah.
to the Bollywood industry And I think probably
Yeah,
Bloomsbury could predict something coming in 2020, and they published your book very nicely in 2019. But
yeah,
great.
absolutely.
So,
Mm.
Nomita, about your books, you first wrote children's book and then you shifted to a horror. Such a
Yeah,
transformation in genres. How
yeah.
do you do that? Is it very easy?
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a moment. But first, I want to say I absolutely feel the same way like Dr. Ruby, because those dynamics, they're even in a family, even in a household, they're there. So you cannot really generalize. Generalization is a very bad thing. Holding
Mm,
prejudices, biases, like even with Corona, China is bad. How can you say that the whole country is bad? Did they develop it? Did they deliberately do it? Prejudices and biases shouldn't be generalized. These things happen. One individual like Rajveer or the heroine, and I'm going to grab this ebook right away after this 1 hour session or so. It sounds so intriguing. So coming back to mine, so yes. They are dramatically different genres, if I may say so, cliché as though it may sound as different as chalk is from cheese. Dramatically different. What happened was earlier, like I told you, I was involved with children and I wanted to entertain them and this adventure, magical adventures, history, mythology. But I knew at the back of my mind, because I'm a huge fan of mystery, crime, suspense. Look at my collection. Like I have all Agatha Christie's, all of them.
wow.
Can you see them?
Yeah,
And
now.
a lot more, and a lot more. These are just 10. I have 30 of them. And I've
Right.
seen all Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple. So I knew I was like, in this sled, which is being pulled by a team of dogs. And I'm not in control of the sled per se, but I'm a passenger in it, being pulled and pulled and pulled tucked towards. I knew eventually I'll switch to it. So also it's based on true events. So I've known this remarkable girl since I don't know 2 decades or so, and I knew that in her there was a story. She, Tana, a young diligent nurse, she's the protagonist of Rose's pen stamp. It is her story that I have constructed. Since I saw her on a daily basis, I knew there was something in her, some secrets and all. So the inquisitive person that I am, I began sniffing around. And so, after about a half a dozen years of investigation slash trolling, I commenced work on my manuscript. I felt compelled to share her story with the world. So that's how it began. And in doing so, I did change the names of and identities of all the concerned parties and people, obviously to protect them. So it's a very strange story and too strange to be true, except it is. So make of it what you will. I light a
Right.
candle for her every day. So in brief, I would tell you, Tana's a young, diligent nurse who has a troubled childhood, and she finds Vikram, who's a rich widower, and she cannot believe her luck that Vikram, the rich widower, he thinks she's the love of his life. But
Right.
soon the strong attraction changes quickly into something else, and her life falls apart. Nightmares that wrecked her childhood are back again. Evil, which once claimed victims, is it going to claim another? No one knows what goes behind closed doors. So, as Tana spirals down into a dungeon, she decides not to stay miserable. So she thinks that I'm going to do something about it. So the path to escape, it swarms with grisly ambushes and intrigue. The rest you'll have to find out for yourself because I can't give out spoilers.
True, 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 true. When I read the title, I probably thought the name Rose would appear in the book, but actually the protagonist's name was completely different here. And I also read
Tana.
that you like to double for her each time, every day.
Actually, in Hindi, Tana means the stem,
Okay, the Kana of the
stem of a plant. So it relates to that. If you read it, then you would know. It's a mind twister, a psychological thriller with elements of horror in it. So
Right.
it's not for the faint-hearted, the weak-hearted. No, everyone has a target audience. Like somebody who cannot see a horror movie, I've seen them all. It, Shining, Carrie, Stephen King, and Raz, Murder 2, Murder 1. I've seen them all. There's a target audience for everything. My grandmother, when I was 6 or 7, she told me a story about a bhutni with red eyes. So every time I would go to the washroom, I would look over my shoulder. Is the red-eyed bhutni right behind me? Is she right behind me? And horror fascinated me since
Right.
I was a kid.
You've been actually tagged as the queen of horror stories by Punjab Kesari. So when you write these horror psychological thrillers, when you say psychological thrillers, it actually
Yeah.
hits the minds of people. Do people actually come into the characters when they read the book, or they feel the characters, or the characters are very relatable? What do you say? What do you understand by a psychological thriller?
Actually, it twists your mind, and sometimes, like you read self-help books to sleep better. So, do you think you're going to sleep better when you read a horror book or see a horror movie? Are you going to sleep better? No, they give you nightmares. So, like I said, not everyone can stomach it. These are mind twisters. They show how the minds of psychopaths or sociopaths works, but they are also alive, aren't they? They're a part of our world. Psychopaths and sociopaths and drugs. People have to know about it, especially college students and their parents. They should be made aware how people turn into psychopaths and what can be done to correct it. Or maybe just for entertainment, like me. I just want to see, I switch on Netflix and I search for horror movies. Not the Dracula gory kind in which a blister bursts and pus oozes out. The mind twisting ones where intrigue is going on, there's an ambush, and you find out who's good and who's not, shades of gray, mystery and intrigue, those sort of things. Those sort of things are really compelling and intriguing, and that's what I want to watch. I did read somewhere that write what you want to read.
True. True. And I think you've actually been making those puzzles and treasure hunt. It's all because of your way of reading and writing horror.
Living. Yeah, I guess you could say that. So no matter what's going on in my life, I make a new exciting thing. For example, when my children were small and I was giving them homeworks, so those few hours when my hands itch to do something, I made crocheted so many things, even blankets and table mats. I crocheted loads of things. I have to do something. I have this urge, just like Dr. Ruby.
How nice is that, right? Very nice, very interesting. So, Dr. Ruby, a quick question for you. You have this very interesting character, Professor Shantanu Bose, who is there in both of your novels. Now, when I think about Professor Shantanu Bose, it reminds me of, that ACP Pradyuman of CID, those television series, ACP Pradyuman of CID series. If you ever watch CID, the detective, same like him. So
No,
I think he's saying that. But how do you actually do you put yourself as a detective when you are actually writing those mysteries?
yeah, I'll just come to your question in a bit. And Nomita, I'm absolutely intrigued by somebody who looks as sweet as you and is so into horror.
Looks are
I
deceptive. Appearances are deceptive. You know what? The tagline of my book is People are unknowable.
People are
That's
unknown.
on the
yeah,
first page.
yeah.
See, this is Rose's
So
Ben stem, and the first thing that's written here is People are unknowable. So,
And
yes,
I'll
that
add
faces,
that's
looks are
something.
deceptive.
I'll add something to that.
that's
Uh, you've actually written this. No one. I'll read that out to everybody. No one knows what happens behind the closed doors or what goes inside a person's mind. How far will someone go to hide their own secrets or get what they want? People are unknowable. I was struck for a moment. I said, now this is intense.
yes,
So, I might be
yes,
hiding
yes,
something
absolutely.
devilish behind this. Beware.
No, no, we are seeing that, Nomita. We are seeing the hidden part of you now. Watch out. We can read you now.
Watch out.
So, yes, watch out. So really interesting about that. Now coming to Shantanu Bose, yeah, I think you do go into a bit of the character because when you paint a character, you create a character, and then your character is a detective who is going to get into a lot of action, and he's going to use his gray matter to find out who has committed the murder and what is the motive. So you are also into him, or he is into you, and you go along with him in order to find out what is happening. So yeah, it does happen, I mean, the protagonist is kind of your alter ego, if I may say so. And I guess that is why he is a professor. I'm a
Oh.
professor,
Why
he's a
not
professor.
Professor? Why not Professor Ruby? Why Professor Shantanu? Why can't be a female
Yeah,
detective?
yeah. Yes, that is an interesting question.
In your next
Actually, when I
one.
wrote no. See, I'll tell you what. When I wrote my first novel, Maya, so Maya is a novel which is a mix of spirituality, Indian spirituality, and mystery as well. Because Maya, the connotation of Maya is that this world is a Maya, according to Hindu belief, that this world is an illusion. It is Maya, right? That is what is said. And in my novel, there is a lady
No.
whose name is also Maya, and she's also very mysterious. And Viren is a software engineer who comes back from Sunnyvale, California, and he meets this lady Maya, who is all actually a yogini, who does a meditation, and who's evolved, who has attained self-realization. So there is this Maya, and there is this Hindu philosophy of Maya. All these things are there, and she is the female protagonist. So a lot of people tried to find me in Maya. Right,
Oh, nice.
so they tried to know what, yes, yes, they tried to find a correlation between me and Maya. So I was disgusted. I said no, 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 you cannot know me, nobody can know me. So because I am the creator of Maya, but that does not mean I am Maya. So very consciously I decided to choose a male protagonist, so that here it is, it's a male protagonist. You can't see me in you can't hope to find me in Professor Shantanu Bose. That was the thought in my mind. So let me create a male protagonist. Then there was a challenge also to it, that a male protagonist, and how authentically, because you see, authenticity is the hallmark of good fiction. So the challenge to me was how to create a male detective who is really authentic. So how does the male mind work? So that was a challenge that I had to portray. So yeah, so I chose a male protagonist so that he is as far away from me as possible, so that there is no comparison. Then I chose I chose Shantanu Bose. The name is a Bengali. He's a Bengali because generally in our country it is believed that the Bengalis are the intellectual class people, that Bengalis or the South Indians, if you talk about intellect. So I thought, okay, let me choose a Bengali, and he's a world traveled. He's stayed in US, and he was a professor in US. Then he comes back to India. So I've given him a sort of an international flavor, and he's not a in any kind of narrow mold. Well traveled, world traveled professor, very tall, very good looking, very handsome. Certainly not like the CID, whoever you are talking about. He's way too
You have to go
suave.
see that. You have to go see that. You have to go
way,
and see.
Yeah.
my, my Professor Shantanu Bose is very suave and sophisticated, and with a lot of class in him, a
Yeah.
worldly air to him. So yeah, so I picked on Professor Shantanu Bose, and so he's a expert on nanotechnology, a world expert on nanotechnology. That's his area of research. And then he's a kind of an amateur detective also, because when he was studying at one of the IITs, what had happened was a professor's wife had got murdered. So somehow the police was not able to solve the case, and Shantanu, who was a IITian at that point of time, he managed to pinpoint who the murderer is. So from that time he got a predilection of solving murders, and then he solved a murder in a degree in depth. He solved a series of murders happened, and initially the police feel that it is a serial killer, and then Professor Shantanu comes to know that it is not a serial killer. There's actually a very devious, very complex plot behind the succession of murders which happens in a college in Dehradun. And then he happens to be in Mumbai, where he solves the murder of Rajveer Kapoor as well. So that's the journey of Shantanu Bose, and that's why he's male.
Right. So
Ah,
Shantanu Bose, you're
very
going to
exciting journey.
So we are going to see more of Shantanu ghosts in your future novels as well, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the way you said
Yes,
it
I
about
hope
the
so.
alter ego, while you're writing a novel, you're actually practically living the character sometimes. You know,
Yes.
with me, that
Yes.
happened. While I was writing Rose's Penstem, I was practically living the character of Tana. And it taxed my relationships, to say the least. It was like a little disturbing and unsettling. That part of was there. Because you know why that happens? Because you want to represent the voice of the main character authentically. So, to
Absolutely.
represent the character's voice in the story, you somehow began to live that character. Like sometimes I would look into the mirror and guess who stared back at me? Tana implacably stared back at me. So, this happens. You're living that book. So, you're living it. And I'm sure if somebody would have said Tana, I would have turned to look. So I actually would have, because I was living that character. That happens while you're writing. You immerse yourself in the character so much that sometimes you begin to live like one, or speak like one, or talk like one.
I am sure. I am sure. So, my another very interesting question to both of you: how easy or how tough it is to get published by a very established traditional publication? Now, you have to tell me that, Dr. Ruby, your book "No Illusions in Xanadu" is published by Bloomsbury. So, was it easy or was it hard? I think all viewers, all the young
Yeah.
readers and writers, they would want to know this definitely, and in fact, from you also, Nomita, because
Yeah,
your book
definitely.
Yeah.
Mm.
falling into the best-selling category.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
That is a
Dr.
very
Ruby.
valid question. That is a very
Mm.
valid question. And for me personally, it was certainly difficult because getting a big publisher is not easy. And although in my non-fiction was published by Cambridge University Press, which is a big, huge thing. So that was relatively easy. But getting a, a big publisher for fiction is a struggle. You have to really work hard and stick with it, not lose heart actually, because you get some publishers. Actually, you know what happens, the thing is that fiction is very subjective. I may think that my book is very good, X editor may think it's very bad, but Y editor may think it's very good. Understood? So, interpreting fiction is a very subjective thing. That does not mean that your work is very good or very bad. So, you have to believe in your work, and even if one editor does not like it, there is always another editor. So, you have to keep on trying, send it to different publishers, different editors, and ultimately you will succeed if your book is good. So, yeah, certainly I had to try hard. It didn't happen in one day that I
right.
sent it out to Bloomsbury and it got done like that. It didn't happen. It took a bit of time, but there is a struggle. I would tell newcomers, whoever is trying to get published, that definitely there is a struggle. But if you persist, the key is persistence and belief in your work. If you believe that you've written a good book and you are determined to get it published, it will get published. It will see the light of the day someday. Although now with COVID, at the moment, it has become even more difficult because publishers are wary of publishing books because their previous stock of books is still on hold. It is not being read. So now it's the era of audible books and e-books.
True.
But I'm sure in 2021 things will get back on track. And yeah, it's tough, but it is doable.
Right. Any particular strategy from your side, Nomita, to
Yeah,
get
the
to
2 points that she mentioned are totally valid. One is it's objective, subjective, that point of view. Everyone has a different point of view. Every person is different, will read it differently, will think about it differently. That reminds me of a very funny, interesting story, I would say. I was in 10th standard, and after clearing the theoretical exam of NTSC, National Talent Search Scholarship, I went to Delhi for the interview. So everything was out of the curriculum. So when we're talking about getting published by a big publisher or self-publishing it, we are thinking of a map, a path, a curriculum. But there's no curriculum in life. You have to go on tangents, find your own path. So when I appeared for the interview in NTSC, everything was going okay. Things from the curriculum, maths and science, and some common sense questions. And suddenly, one of the three interviewers asked me, "Why do you think Hindus worship the cow and not the buffalo?" So for a moment there, I was like, really? NTSC question? Is that a trick question? Are they trying to trick me? Oh, did I misunderstand it? And then I had to have faith in myself. I had to believe in myself, what I was thinking. All my life, I believed that every person is different. So immediately, the answer that I said was, I said, in case at that certain point of time, some Hindus had chosen the buffalo to worship or a parrot or an eagle, you would have been asking me, why do they worship the eagle and not the parrot? So at a certain point of time, certain people chose to worship the cow. So that's how it is. Diverse people, different strokes, different folks. So coming to the second point, now this was different opinions. Dr. Ruby mentioned was hard work. Yes, hard work beats talent. And even if somebody is very talented and the other person is working hard and is persistent, he'll get there. तो जब टूटने लगे हौसले, बस ये याद रखना, बिना मेहनत के हासिल तक तो ताज नहीं होते. ढूंढ लेना अंधेरों में मंजिल अपनी, जुगनू कभी रोशनी के मोहताज नहीं होते.
Well said. Very well said. Needs a big, big round of applause. Very well said. Very well said.
Thank
I
you.
think we're almost coming to an end of our CLS conversation. So, one last question. We always say there is always a woman behind a man's success. Now, Nomita, I see in your book it's dedicated to your husband. So I can definitely
Yeah.
understand there's a man behind your success. How about Dr. Ruby? Is it your family completely or is your husband in sport?
No, definitely family plays a big role in your success. And I think, my parents, my husband, my daughter, everybody have played a really big role in supporting me. And, many times if I'm watching TV and I was writing this novel, a very complex novel. I mean, I'm still writing since a very long time. And my daughter would walk past and she would see that I'm watching TV and she would say, कि उठ के अपना लिख लो पहले
How nice.
नॉवेल
How
खत्म कर
nice
लो.
is it?
so so and if I would tell her, that there's nothing on TV and I'm getting bored, अभी मैं क्या करूँ, so then she would say कि अपना नॉवेल लिख लो. So
That's
so
very
my
nice.
daughter has
That's so supportive. That's
Also,
wonderful.
yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And then, my this latest novel, No Illusions in Xanadu, I dedicated it to my mother, and I wrote, that like to my mother, the wind beneath my wings, because my mother, I remember, to answer that question of yours, how easy it is to get a publisher. What had happened was, the story is very interesting. That No Illusions in Xanadu was accepted by my previous publisher,
right.
who published my degree in debt, and it was done, the several rounds of editing, because book publishing is a very long process. So several rounds of editing were done, and then several rounds of proofreading was done, page layout was done, book cover was designed. After 2 3 designs, we zeroed into the final design. Paper was bought, the printer was said that okay, on this date has to start, right? So 2 days before the book was to go into print, they had a meeting with the marketing guys and the head honcho and the marketing guys, etc. So the story was told to him because he had to come up with a campaign that how he would publicize the book.
How to
So he was
market.
told the story. Yeah. So this thing marketing guy was told the story, and he says, no, we cannot go ahead with this book.
Okay.
And the head honcho asked that why not? He says, no, there are similarities between existing Bollywood stars and the book, and they
Oh.
would get upset. And we cannot
Oh.
publish it. And
Right.
and then he managed to convince the owners that it will be a really problem, a real challenge, if somebody takes if protests about it. And then the proprietor then told the editor who was working with me that tell her to change the story, change this about this and this about. What happened was that there is a character who wears a Kanjivaram sari, okay,
Oh, okay.
and in real life,
You know, you know
some
it's
actress is always in a Kanjivaram sari. So
That's why authors have to write no resemblance to anyone.
yeah. So this kind of thing happened, and if I change the story, my plot would change, the character would change. So I did try, but then I got so disgusted. I said, I cannot change the story. And even though I
Yeah.
had a contract, and a lot of my friends told me, see, they cannot back out. But I had developed a very friendly, a very cordial rapport with the proprietors. And I didn't want to take the legal route and, tell them that, no, I have a contract, you have to publish it. So ultimately I said, okay, let it go. So I felt naturally, one is thinking the book is going to be out, and I felt pretty low about it, and I told my mother that this has happened, and my mother said, don't worry, it will happen when the time comes. She says, you just keep it aside and start working on something else. And this advice of my mother, it brought so much of peace to my heart. And then ultimately what she said came true, and I got a bigger publisher in the
Right.
bargain. My previous publisher was not so big, and I got a bigger publisher. So that's why I've dedicated
Yeah.
it to my mother, The Wind Beneath My Wings. Which she told me
Definitely.
that don't worry, it
Well
will happen. Just
deserved
set it aside.
dedication.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, family is definitely they play a big role.
Yeah, definitely.
Great,
So
great.
even I would say the same, considering how irritable, acidic I became while writing it, I'd say they've made a good enough contribution because I certainly wasn't the best person to be around. Also unsettling and disturbing. So their contribution is huge, I would say.
Great. Any upcoming books of yours? Are we going to read and see them on shelves somewhere or online shortly? Any new books
Right
that you?
now, because of the virus, the whole house hovering over your head, you write a sentence and gajar khatam ho gayi hai bibi ji, and you write the second one, and my husband would say, what's for lunch, what's for dinner? So during the virus, that's why it was all cooking, 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 because for writing you definitely need solitude. Okay, we all know that. And the writer's block, it was pretty heavy. All my imaginary friends कट्टी कर ली उन्होंने मुझसे नाराज हो गए. So breakup हो गया. So once the lockdown is over, we'll patch up. मनाना आता है हमें रूठे हुए imaginary friends को मना लेंगे, and then we'll start writing.
Great, great, great. So thank you, Nomita and Dr. Ruby, for being with us in CLS Conversation. It has been very exciting, very entertaining, and very, very soothing to talk to both of you. I have learned a lot of horror thing. Get inside the character, and then you behave and trouble everybody in the house. That's what is the you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to pick up No Illusions and May I Rose raise a toast. Abhi andhera nahi hua, so wine and whiskey cannot come. So with coffee, May I Rose raise a toast to our wonderful moderator Neha and Dr. Ruby, whose book I'm going to pick up shortly, to this wonderfully spent evening and such bright, learned faces. But then one thing I would say, because of this COVID, it's all via the camera, the laptop, devices. So आज हमने जो दिल की बातें करी है ना, ये दिल दियां गल्ला करेंगे नाल नाल बह के after the COVID.
Hopefully, shortly at Chandigarh Literature Festival, maybe. Let's see if COVID is all sorted by
Yeah,
Yeah,
then.
yeah,
thank you so much,
Right.
Neha.
Thank
You
you
have
so
been
much.
so wonderful, and
Thank
you
you.
brought out the best in this conversation. Thank you, Nomita, so
yeah,
much. And it's
yeah.
been
Thank you,
wonderful being a
doctor.
part of this. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah,
Have a great evening ahead. And thank you, CLS.
thank you, CLS, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, CLS.